I would like to thank each and every one of you for tuning in every week and helping me to reach 1,000 subscribers. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jen. I am the Urban Sewist, and this is the Urban Sewing Society, where we bring fashion and creativity to your neighborhood. Thanks so much for joining in today. We've got a couple great things to cover today, 2 great announcements, and we're going to get into this really quick and easy upcycle. So first of all, I would like to thank each and every one of you for tuning in every week and helping me to reach 1,000 subscribers. This has been so awesome, and I'm so very happy and grateful to each and every one of you who leaves a comment, who sends me messages on Instagram, who gives me encouragement here on this channel. So thank you so much. So you see, we are in a different location today, and it's a little noisy. We're outside, but hopefully, you know, just a little bit of a change of pace. So the second announcement we're going to announce towards the end, but I want to get right into this upcycle so that you guys can try this out. I hope you will. It's a really quick and easy upcycle, and if you are running short on summer tops and you need something that is going to be cool enough so that you can show your shoulders, it's still cute, kind of sexy, but it's also very functional. It can be worn with skirts, shorts, pants, jeans, what have you. And there's other options that you can do with it. So if you don't want to use the bands around the arm and you want to put elastic in there, that's easier for you. You can go ahead and do that. But I'll talk about that as we're going through the upcycle. All right, so I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you at the end. So I started with this yellow, bright yellow Banana Republic shirt in a size large. I believe this is a woman's shirt, but not fully sure. Anyway, it's just a couple sizes larger. You're gonna need your seam ripper, scissors, and disappearing ink pen or pencil. So I tried to remove the pocket, didn't work out for me. I ended up just stitching it down so that it would lay flat. Fortunately, this fabric worked well for that. Now, you're going to start at the shoulder and you're going to cut down about 3.5 inches, and then you're going to measure across the top and draw a line. This line is going to indicate the top of the shirt. Remember that you want to make it a little bit higher than what you would want it to be, because you do have to fold this down to make a casing for the elastic. I also measured from the top to the bottom where I wanted the shirt to stop, because I wanted to make sure I had enough coverage for the bust area, knowing that I am going to create ties for the bottom. So here you can see I'm using my adjustable, flexible, curved ruler to create that curve. I didn't want it to be straight across. I wanted it to have a little bit of a curve to mimic how the shoulders were going to be, because the shoulder, you can either wear the shirt up on the shoulder or you can wear it, pull it down and expose your shoulder. So I'm going to draw this straight line across the bottom to cut across. Now it does look like, based on the camera angle, that this is not even, but it is, I assure you. Now I'm going to remove the front placket. I only removed one of the plackets, not both, because when you look at the shirt, you have a placket on the front and then you just have the other piece that's turned over, and I believe that's where the buttons were sewn onto. So I'm cutting the top of the shirt, making sure that it's even on both sides, and cutting, leaving the placket free because I am going to use this later. This is part of my trying to have a no waste upcycle. And so you see I have one raw edge and one edge that's folded over with the buttons, and I left the buttons there. Now I am rounding off the shoulders. So if you notice, when you cut down from the shoulder, it leaves kind of a like a, I don't know, kind of a weird curved edge, and you want to straighten that out so that it's easy for you to turn it over to put the elastic on the inside. All right, so my next step is going to be to cut the sleeves. I measured down from the top of the shoulder to midway the sleeve to where I thought it would be most comfortable for me, and then I ended up just cutting that part of the sleeve off. I took the sleeve that was removed, laid it on top of the other sleeve to make sure that they would be even, and that was it. All right, so now that that's done, I am going to try to create this these ties. But before I do that, I'm going to use the plackets that I had left over, and I'm going to use these for the bottom part of the sleeve. So instead of using elastic in my sleeves, I'm going to use those plackets. All right, so now I need to piece together as much fabric as possible to create this tie. So I decided, based on the fabric that I had left, that my tie was going to be 4 inches wide. This would be enough for me to get a seam allowance, because I'm going to have to, turn the tie over to create a hem. So this was just enough for both of that. So I pieced together fabric that was left over, created as many strips as I possibly could, using this board as my guide to make sure that each piece was 4 inches wide. And I trimmed off the excess. Where I found that the strip wasn't even, I just cut those angles off, trimmed them up, made a pile, and did that with all of the fabrics that I had left over. Now you see here I'm using the cuff. I removed the fabric from the top of the cuff of the shirt, and I am going to use those cuffs because they are just short of 4 inches, which was perfect because I can measure the other strips against it. So you will probably need to maneuver your fabric around maybe a little differently from how I did it, but this was just based on what I had left over. So this was the front of my shirt underneath the collar. I had a perfectly 4-inch space there. I turned it over. The space underneath the yoke was 4 inches, so I was able to trim the excess fabric off there and get another piece. And see, I'm just trimming off the edges. I'm stacking them all on top of each other. I start to measure to make sure that I have enough to go all the way around, to see if I need to piece some more pieces together, but it turned out okay. The next step you want to do is you want to either do a zigzag stitch on all of your raw edges or take it to the serger. My serger had all different colored threads in it. I didn't feel like changing it, so I just did a zigzag stitch on the bottom around the. And what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button below and click on that bell so that you don't miss an update. All right, let's get back to it. The neck and around the sleeves. Now, unfortunately, my camera cut off and I couldn't show you how I put the elastic on the inside of the blouse, but trust and believe, I did sew the elastic together first, and then I simply folded it over and I stitched the elastic inside the casing as I was sewing it down. So there's that. So unfortunately I wasn't able to show that. So here I am piecing the ties together. These are all the pieces that I cut that were 4 inches wide, and I am just stitching them together at about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little bit more, but I tried to keep my seam allowances really small because I wanted it to last. All right. So here we're on my sleeve. Now at the bottom part of the sleeve, I ran a basting stitch. A basting stitch is the longest stitch that you can use on your sewing machine. You want to pull the thread out after you have finished sewing it, because you want to pull the bobbin thread and gather your sleeve. Now you do have an option here. You could put elastic in your sleeve and that's perfectly fine, but I wanted to use those plackets on my sleeve. So you see here, I cut my thread. I am pulling the thread to create the gathers, just smoothing the fabric all the way around and creating those gathers at the bottom of the sleeve, and spacing them so that they're evenly spread apart. And that turned out just right. So now I'm going to take the placket and I'm going to sew it together, and then I'm going to try it on my arm to make sure that it fits. So I slide it up my arm and I see, okay, it fits perfectly on my arm. It's not too tight, it's not too loose. I check the other arm as well because neither one of your arms are the same. They're not the same size, believe it or not. You think that they would be, but sometimes one upper arm may be larger than the other. So now I'm going to take that placket and I'm going to pin it to the bottom part of my sleeve. And I just take some straight pins and I just start to pin it. The gathering is pretty evenly distributed, but the way that I gathered it was a little smaller than the opening, so I had to spread my gathers out just a little bit more. So here you see me going in, just pinning this together, and I pinned it all the way around. And then I just pin it the rest of the way. And then you can see how it looks once it's in place, evenly gathered all the way around. Now all I do is stitch right on top and I'm finished with my sleeve. So I do this on both of my sleeves. All right, so going back to the front of the blouse, remember we had a raw edge in the front, so I just simply turned that under and stitched it down. Yes, the front of it is open because it does overlap, but I wanted to make sure I had a nice clean finish. I also put 2 small darts in the front, right in the bust area, just to give a little more fullness to the front. But again, if you decide to add elastic in the bottom, which you certainly could, you wouldn't need these little pleats or darts or what have you. All right, so going back to the cuffs, remember I told you I wanted to repurpose those cuffs to be part of the ties. I removed a couple of the buttons. I did a zigzag stitch to attach them to each other, and then I have a nice clean finish. And I used these cuffs in the back. So I started from the back and worked my way to the front. And you can see here where I'm pinning the cuffs to the back, and then now I'm attaching the rest of the ties to the cuff, and I stitched those down to make those nice and smooth. I actually stitched right around the curve of the cuff just to keep everything nice and together. I thought that was a nice finish there. And then I continued the rest of the way around, attaching the strap to the bottom of the crop top, and sew that all the way around. I did put I did finish off the bottom of the ties just to, get that out of the way. And once you press this down, it has such a nice clean finish, especially with this fabric. This was a linen fabric and it presses well. Even though it's very wrinkly, it pressed really well. So here you see I used my clips to attach the ties to the blouse, and I'm sewing all the way around at about 5/8 of an inch, and slowly just taking the pins and the clips out, and then I'm done. This turned out to be so super cute and so really easy. I really like the way it turned out. I wish I had more fabric so that I could bring the ties around to the front, because I really did want to have a little bit more coverage. I mean, I'm okay with it, but with high-waisted jeans, I think it'll be a lot better. But I love the tie in the back, and I love the puff sleeves that I can wear them up on the shoulder or I can wear them down. This is great with skirts, jeans, shorts, what have you. I hope you guys really enjoy, and I will see you back next week for another upcycle. And don't forget to check out my Instagram page. All right, you guys, I hope you guys enjoyed that upcycle. It was super fun for me. It was so exciting for me until I did it twice. I was gonna bring you the other one this week, but it didn't quite turn out the way I like, so I'm gonna bring it to you on Instagram, probably in my IGTV, in my stories, in a post. So make sure you're following me on Instagram at Urban Sewing Society, where I will do another upcycle similar to this over there, probably midweek. All right, so my last last announcement is that we are bringing fashion and creativity to your neighborhood, literally in the city of Chicago, in the neighborhood of Bronzeville. We are having sewing classes in person. They start on June 4th. The information to register is below. If you live in Chicago, please sign up for classes. We're going to do a 4-week session of in-person classes. Our first class is going to be virtual. The other 4 will be in person with an option to make up one class. So I hope if you live in Chicago, you will join us, and I would love to see you in person. So thanks so much for joining again, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.